Were you ready, Madam Chair?
Okay. Perfect. All right, so we can call the El Portal Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force meeting to order at 4:05, and we'll start with silent meditation and the pledge. And we can, oh, perfect. Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, awesome. And then I don't know if it's possible, Mayor, to do a roll call while you're moving around.
I have you covered, Madam Chair. Awesome. Roll call. Chairperson Carpenter.
Present.
Vice Chairperson McLean.
Present.
Member Fruitstone.
Present.
I believe, Madam Chair, you do have a quorum. Madam Chair, for the record, we do have Mr. Hugh Gladwin, who acts as a consultant, and Mr. Adam Old, who is one of our newer consultants. And we appreciate that. We know that also, Madam Chair, Mr. Brown, Colin Brown, his birthday is either today or coming up. So his wife right now is like has him at a birthday, like kind of present dinner type of thing. He said he'll be here around like 4:30, 4:45. So he should be coming.
Oh, great.
Great. Madam Chair.
Okay. Wonderful. So just pulled up the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda before we vote to approve it? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
A motion to approve?
Okay. Can I second it? Maribel seconds it. Okay, great. So the agenda is approved. And then I don't think we have minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My daughter has a friend over and they're playing guitar very badly and they might be singing.
That's okay.
And so
That's
I'm
an
just
enhancement, Maribel.
worked.
It's an enhancement. It's community action. No problem.
Yeah.
No, Madam Chair. I have a couple that are done, but they're on my laptop, and so I'm like probably 4 behind. But I have a couple that are done. I'll send those out to you probably this weekend.
Okay, no problem.
So we just
All
table that for next time?
Yeah.
We'll just table them for the next. Thank you.
And then I think that the mayor has already acknowledged our visitors, Hugh, Adam, and I don't see anybody else that would be no attendees for good and welfare. Okay, so then we'll jump right into the agenda. So it's been a long time since we had a task force meeting. So again, really nice to see everybody. My general thoughts in thinking about the agenda were I was hoping to update you guys on some of the stuff that I've been talking to the mayor about from a sustainability and resiliency standpoint, and some of the meetings that folks have reached out to me about El Portal related agenda items. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, I just wanted to touch base with you guys about our direction moving forward and how we should. Oh, there's Matthew up. So I am going to say that again so that Matthew can hear that. Hey, Matthew.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm a bit late.
No problem. You're right on time for the substance.
That's good timing.
Yeah. So I was just going to, I was just saying in terms of, we just approved our agenda, and I was hoping we could kind of talk about 3 different things. One, things the mayor and I have been working on related to El Portal. 2, some of the partners that have reached out to El Portal about sustainability and related items. And the 3rd, kind of a group discussion or reflection, I guess, on what we want the year to look like moving forward. And that I was hoping to pull us back to the originating document that created the task force. So that's what I was thinking. And how long do we have for this meeting? How long does everybody have? I want to make sure I'm conscious of everyone's time constraints.
I do not have a hard stop. So 5:30, even 6 is okay with me.
Okay. So we'll try to shoot for 5:30 then. But I want to make sure we didn't need to be done by 5. All right, awesome. So starting with, looking back to the agenda here, starting with the FIU Climate Resilience Walk. So this, I know that the mayor spoke to some of you all about this Climate Resilience Walk that FIU would like to host in El Portal. Tiffany Troxler, one of their amazing scientists and professors at FIU, has been working with Miami-Dade County to do basically community outreach related to Miami-Dade County's climate resilience plan, the Resilience 305. And pursuant to that, she's going into communities, smaller communities, kind of boots on the ground, communications with folks to see whether Resilience 305 is serving their needs, and to hear from the community about whether they do feel like it's serving their needs, whether they're aware of what's happening under Resilience 305, and what they would like to see moving forward. And so she partnered with, I think, the Clio Institute in Miami-Dade County to do this across the river in the Larchmont Park area, and is now coming to El Portal to do it, and reached out to me to see if we could have the task force sponsor it and potentially just collaborate with the task force or the Little River Conservancy or both, related to, you know, that effort. I'm gonna actually, can I share screen? I can, okay, great. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, they give you capabilities, Madam Chair. And also when Madam Chair speaks about sponsorship, she means a sponsorship that's non-monetary also. Yes,
yes. Just essentially putting our name on it as a showing of support that, you know, we're partners essentially in this. So this is the flyer that Tiffany created for this event. It is obviously no longer on this date, but I just wanted to show you guys what the way that it was being framed. So neighborhood climate walking tour, interactive activities and lunch. El Portal, Office of Resilience, Resilience 305 have partnered together to continue action around climate adaptation and mitigation in your community. Little River has seen many changes as the adaptation area work continues. Please join us to voice your opinions about needs in your community. There'll be lunch, and anyone who attends over 18 gets a $25 gift card as well. And this is now scheduled for Saturday, January 20th at Village Hall, with hopefully a little, I think they're hoping to do a little climate walk around Sherwood Forest into the Tequesta Indian Burial Mound. So I wanted to, one, share that with you guys, and also just see if there was availability to attend and brainstorm any ideas about how to get community members, you know, out on Saturday, January 20th.
I'll be there, Madam Chair. That flyer with the updated date, as soon as I get it, I'm doing a whole, I'm putting out flyers starting next week, because I have the new bulk pickup calendar coming in, and I have some other stuff coming in that I'm gonna be putting out. So every resident will get it starting next week. And I have our next task force meeting scheduled for the 17th. Which is, we usually do first and third anyway, but it works out perfectly because that's the week of that event, so we can go over any last thoughts about that event before that event happens.
Yeah, I can probably attend, and
awesome.
I can share it with the women's club and see if we have members that can attend.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wanted to share it in our WhatsApp, Maribel, but I didn't think I could with Sunshine. So now I can talk to you about it. Now that we've talked about it, I think we can.
Yeah, put it on there, and then we'll get people to go.
Okay,
Elizabeth, my only comment is I think I can attend, but also you might want to call it like the Little River, because Little River is like a politically fraught naming convention that they used to be Little River, and then they called it Little Haiti, and so there's like two sides fighting about what we call things. So just be aware of that, maybe.
So you're saying refer to it as like El Portal?
Yeah, like I would say either El Portal or like on the little river, because it is the little river, but like the neighborhood itself, I've gotten like scolded for saying the wrong name of the neighborhood before.
Okay.
Just FYI.
So this, yeah, thanks, Adam. That's good to know. This is not my project. This is Tiffany's, but I'm helping her coordinate it. So I will I will pass that on to her before she finalizes the flyer.
Yeah.
Let me make a note of that.
I'm trying to put my hand up. I can't see the. Could I make a quick comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Hugh.
Yeah, I'm just kind of agreeing with Adam that we have to recognize that this is a, FIU's role, Tiffany's role in this is an official evaluation of the 305 project, so it is kind of a official thing. And I think it would be good to just focus on it being El Pertel and leave it at that.
Gotcha. I know
I mean, it's, like Tiffany's an old friend. I've worked with her forever, way back to FIU in science and everything, and also Cleo. And these things are always slightly political, so I think everything is going to be fine when it happens. I'm not worried about it, but we just sort of want to, we'll be able to go over it, as the mayor said in the meeting before, and sort of get a clear focus of what our position is, because in a sense, the responses of the people in the village to this are sort of like telling the county, you're either reaching us on this or you're not reaching us, so it is an important evaluation and messaging thing that that FIU is doing here. So, but let's just leave that to the next meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, you. I know Tiffany wanted to touch base with you about this as well, so you may be hearing from her.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Is the okay? So we can talk about that the 17th. That makes sense. That's very helpful, actually. Okay. Moving on. Okay, I'm going to. Okay, the next one is I See Change. I don't know if any of you all are familiar with this, but this is a company that is partnering with Miami-Dade County to document incidences of flooding across Miami-Dade County. And they're partnering with Miami-Dade County and a few other larger municipalities to basically create a software or an app that allows residents to take photos of flooding in their neighborhood and tag the location, show observations, and then have a place where all that information is compiled so that there is a better source of data about what's actually happening on the ground, as opposed to what we see a lot in terms of like modeling and projections. This is like real life reflections on that. So they reached out just to, they hosted I think the mayor shared this, it was a few months ago, they hosted like a webinar just to train people and educate people on what this was. And I attended that, and they were really interested in getting to know the residents more in El Portal because of our proximity to the Little River, and wanted to attend one of our task force meetings to present the tool basically. And we're asking for any suggestions that we had to kind of spread the word about the tool in the community. And I'm definitely oversimplifying it. It was pretty cool, and that's the basic of the program, but they are working on expanding to additional things. And so I told them that let me see if I have, is there a chat on this? No chat. Okay, so if you just type in I See Change, you'll be able to pull up their website, and you can do things historically as well. So if you have photos from a flood event that happened last year, you're still able to input that. It's not just perspective. So I will, if everybody is in, I wanted to share that with everyone, and that unless there's an objection, I was going to invite them to one of our task force meetings to just go through their objectives and how they could support the work that we're doing in the task force in terms of flooding and resilience and septic related health issues as well related to flooding.
I think that's really great. And Elizabeth, do you know if there will be, so one of the things that I've been looking for and haven't seen, and I'm just wondering if this would be it, or if there's a component of this which is real-time updates on where there is flooding during a flooding event. So for people who are trying to drive their kids to school downtown, or just trying to get out of their own neighborhoods after rain events, a way to be able to reliably know where there's flooding going on. Will this map have data posting in real time? Do you know?
I think so. I think it's an interface that you can post anonymously, but you can see what other people are saying in your community as well. So it's a way to share that data locally.
Yeah. Okay, great. Because man, that would be very valuable, not just scientifically, but in terms of people's just day to day. So
yeah. And I had suggested that, you know, we had talked a little bit about opportunities if we move forward with the like an El Portal app or safety kind of notifications to integrate that type of information into El Portal's notification system as well. And when I attended the meeting, there was people from many different municipalities, and they said that they were directly working with Miami-Dade County to share that information with them. The question I asked was, well, are you working with the other municipalities? Because that's really helpful information from a public works perspective for our stormwater system, so that we understand where it's working and are able to pinpoint and see where the weak points in our stormwater system as well. And so they were very interested in that. And I know the mayor has already spoken to them. So I was happy to hear that they were really directing some of their energy towards partnering with El Portal. All right, so I'll invite them to maybe not the 17th if we're going to focus on FIU's climate walk, but maybe one of the following meetings. Great. All right, moving down the agenda. Let me make sure this matches up with my notes. Okay, the next one is the back base study, and I'm going to share my screen again on this one because I want to show you guys a map. So the back base study, I don't know, before I give a ton of background, are you guys familiar with what the back base study is in Miami-Dade County? I see yes from Hugh.
I am. Yep.
Okay. Maribel, are you familiar with the back base study as well? No, okay, so I'll just give a little bit of background. So the back base study is a federally funded Army Corps of Engineer project focused on potential storm surge damage in Miami-Dade County. So the federal government has allocated a lot of money to come into Miami-Dade County and find a way to prevent storm surge specifically. So in the event we got a storm like Hurricane Ian, how do we keep the 10 feet of water out of our communities? So they initially proposed a plan that involved a 10 or 15 foot wall around downtown Miami and a similar wall along Biscayne Boulevard up in our area through Miami Shores. And the community, specifically the county, said a wall around our city is not going to work for us. So we don't want you to come in and do that project. So the Army Corps actually went back to the drawing board and said, you know what, we'll plan again with more community input, and are on their second round of coming up with a solution to storm surge. And they completed that in June as a kind of a preliminary process, got approval from the county to move forward with their proposed plan, but have recently shifted gears again. So I wanted to talk about how that impacts El Portal. So the way that they shifted gears since June is, instead of coming up with a very large project. Well, the project that they proposed in June, you guys can see in this map here, this is the North Bay. So El Portal, right up here, there's a little river right there. So the project that the county community members and Corps agreed to in June involved multiple lines of defenses. So instead of one big wall around downtown, they were starting all the way at the ocean with coral reef restoration, which slows and reduces wave action. So restore coral reef, add artificial reef. Then when you get to the beach, create reinforced sand dunes and create some kind of barrier in the inlet areas. And then when you get to the other side, put mangroves, then oyster beds in the bay, then mangroves again. Then when you get to mainland Miami, like downtown, then maybe you only need a 2-foot wall to prevent storm surge because you've had all of these various factors breaking up and reducing the storm action before it got to the shore. So that was the plan that was proposed. There was various plans, but that was our favorite one. But that was one of the plans proposed in June. They've now, the Army Corps has come back and said, this is a huge project. We don't want to wait until 2026 to get approval for the plan, and it'll be many years after that before it's built. So we're going to break it into 2 phases. The first phase, they're trying to get approved and finished in the next like 3 or 4 months and approved by Congress in 2024. So that is coming up. They just proposed this 2-phase plan. And that's coming up really, really quickly. And I think it's an important opportunity for El Portal to participate in that, because the first phase is going to be focused on 3 things: elevating homes. I think I wrote down here, elevating homes, protecting critical infrastructure like hospitals, fire stations, things like that, and nature-based pilot projects. And the Corps and County have shared that they're going to have at least 1, hopefully 2 community meetings before they finalize a plan in, I think, sometime around April, but I'm not completely sure which month, but in the next few months. And that's our opportunity to speak to those 3 items. After that is hopefully approved by Congress in 2026, it will be phase 2, and they'll be moving back towards this plan here in the graphic you can see, which is a little bit more of that multiple lines of defenses that I was describing, which includes something as significant as putting gates in the water in front of all of the inlets and literally closing off the entire North Bay with dunes and sea gates. So we, this is, a lot of these projects are not just in the water, they are going to be impacting El Portal. Specifically, some of the pilot projects proposed right now are up in our area. Elevating homes, we don't know which area they're going to focus on. And protecting critical infrastructure, we don't know which areas or communities they're going to focus on. So I think it's important that we, make sure we're following this and, make sure that we're looking out for El Portal's interests as a task force. On a related note, as a community, I think that some of the things we should be advocating for this are the Army Corps not just looking at storm surge, because that's been a pushback we've received saying, what about community flooding? They said that's not storm surge. So there are some mechanisms where the Army Corps can consider compound flooding, which would be related to flooding in our neighborhoods, and also comprehensive benefits. So not just the benefits of we saved damage to this building, so we saved X amount of dollars, but the benefits to the community. So I just wanted to flag those as something that's going to be coming up, and it's going to be a really quickly moving process. They haven't noticed any community meetings yet. That was it. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. So first of all, wow, that's super encouraging. Like, this is super encouraging. I hadn't seen this version, and I'm excited by this. Just that this is under consideration. It's great. So just to amplify something that you just said, in terms of the where El Portal intersects with this idea, and I'm curious what Hugh has to say about this, but that whole idea of other types of flooding besides storm surge, like for us, if they gate, I mean, I can imagine a rain event, right? Where if they actually do that really intense, I don't know what you call it, the barrier, like sort of creating barriers around North Bay. And then we have a rain event where the water can't escape from the little river because we're protecting the bay from exterior storm surge. That could create quite an event for us in our village, just from the backup of water that happens when, I mean, I understand that maybe we can keep the bay lower than I don't even know, but I just can imagine a situation where we can't accommodate the amount of water that's falling from the sky and coming from upriver in a really severe water event if we don't have outflow to the bay because we're controlling for storm surge. So that seems to me like something we need to raise, right?
Absolutely. That was my concern as well, Chris, and I completely agree. And the Army Corps I think we're going to have to push them on that, because what the feedback through my participation in this project with Everglades Law Center, the feedback we've received is storm surge, storm surge, storm surge. And there are provisions in the Army Corps regs that allow them to consider compound flooding. And that's what we are really hoping to push. And that the reason that we're hoping to push that is because of what you just said. Hugh? Oh, you're muted, Hugh.
Okay, this has had a interesting history, and I'm tremendously encouraged by the recent changes that you've talked about. I mean, it sounds like they're really learning. I've actually worked with the Corps on all kinds of studies like this all over the Atlantic coastline in my career into recently. And it's always sort of about storm surge, but once they get into it, it's really about funding. And storm surge is their rationale, but as projects move along, then there's options to get funding. And that this project, well, I just remember one time sitting, I think it was one of the cleanups, talking to some high guy from the county, and I was saying, this is at the beginning, like, how in the world can they have this project and they haven't even done any storm surge modeling or anything? There's no science. And he said, this is always about the money. They're like the people that have to approve the Corps to get the money to come down on all these different things. So that's sort of been what the county's been doing, and everybody else. At first it was like there was a huge outcry, the dams and the things like made no sense, but it was still very important to continue with the process because you can't opt out because there is really no other mechanism to get all this funding down. So so it's gotten to the point, exactly like you say, Elizabeth, we have to, as it gets more and more realistic and they're getting feedback and all these things are going on, we have to stay right on top of it. Just hearing that there might be money there for elevating houses, that's a critical part of the I'm sorry, the Little River AAA, so that could happen. Well, are they going to draw a line and not elevate houses on one side of the train tracks and on the other? I think when it comes to it, that money will go, to our side, even though maybe our side is more inland flooding, they'll figure it out. So that's encouraging, but we really have to do like you say and stay on top of it. Thanks.
Yeah, and as soon as I hear about, thanks guys, as soon as I hear about the next community meeting, I'll definitely share that with the mayor to send around. And if maybe there is an opportunity for us to submit comments on behalf of the village at some point too. All right, that's all on Back Bay. Just a couple other updates. These aren't quite as significant as Back Bay, I think, at this very moment, even though they're still very significant. The Everglades Restoration Project called Biscayne Bay Southeastern Ecosystem Restoration Plan, or BBCR for short, is moving into its third and final phase of planning. And it's looking like, if you guys recall we've talked about this before, but way back in, BBCR is basically, I'm way oversimplifying this, but they're trying to rehydrate southern Biscayne Bay and Florida Bay and Barnes and Card Sound, everything down at the southeastern tip of Florida, by providing more clean, fresh water, and acknowledging or under the belief that there's too much fresh water in the north end of the system and not enough in the south end of the system. So part of the plan was to take excess fresh water from the north, from our area, route it west, down south, and then back east. And so while keeping Everglades water in the Everglades. And in the third round of modeling, what that is looking like is taking some water from the C6 canal and the C9 canal, because those two canals run all the way west. And so it's easy to send that water down. And what I'm seeing right now on the modeling is that there is like very minor impact to the amount of water that would leave the C7 canal based on those changes. So the final plan has not come out yet, but that's what it's looking like at this point. So not too much news as it relates to the C7. I was hoping that there would be an opportunity to divert more water from the west end of the C7, but that hasn't, unfortunately, has not played out in the modeling or in the plan formulation as a viable option, even though I'm still pushing for it, still hoping that there might be a way to get that in. So that's BBC. The other one is the Central and South Florida project, and just a little background. Or C and SF. The CNSF system is our series of all the canals. So Little River Canal, all the just myriad of gridded canals that run through Miami-Dade County. The CNSF study is another federal project acknowledging that our canals and drainage systems and gravity structures are failing as a result of sea level rise. And so this is the Army Corps' plan, along with the South Florida Water Management District, to come up with a solution to the failure of our drainage systems, or the imminent failure of our drainage systems. And this had originally been focused on the canals, the structures, and looking for water storage areas. In line with what Hugh has shared with us about holding more water west, that would be considered a water storage area. At the most recent community meeting, they said that they're no longer going to be focusing on water storage. That's going to happen in a future project, but instead they're going to be focusing on the canals and the structures. So it's not totally clear to me how their focus on the canals and the structures is going to be different than or work with what the South Florida Water Management District is focusing on as it relates to the Little River Canal and the S27. But that's where that stands now, and they're still working on moving that project forward, and still towards the beginning of it. So it's just an update on that. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yeah, I do actually. Elizabeth, really quickly. Do you have any sense of, what you just said makes, like, the implication is that suddenly there's a lot of action and like people are taking like what's going on right now seriously. It just sounds to me like the last two bullets we've talked about have been kind of expedited in a way that I feel like we're getting more momentum behind these types of like conversations and real planning compared to what we've seen in the last 5 years or whatever. So can you characterize from your position or just what you've been monitoring, just where these organizations like South Florida Water Management are falling on the continuum of holy crap, we have to panic, to like productive and optimistic forward momentum? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to get a sense of like how you feel this is playing out.
Yeah,
does that make sense? It's a little squishy.
I think so. I think most of these projects are with the federal government. With a local sponsor. So BBC is the federal government, Back Bay is the federal government, CNSF is the federal government as well. But they're working really, I think CNSF is partnering with the South Florida Water Management District on that. But the reason I posed that last question, I'm not sure how it overlaps, and maybe there's probably an answer to this, I just don't know what it is it seems to me like the Water Management District is pushing forward, at a really good clip with a lot of different resiliency projects and a lot of good plans to adapt to the sea level rise issues we're already seeing as related. We know that they have a plan to add a pump on the S27. They're also working on upgrading the S28 and looking at storage solutions related to the Miami Shores golf course. So I think they're moving forward, I'm happy with how responsive they're being to the issues. I think we probably should have started this 20 years ago, but
Yeah, well, I guess my question is whether or not we're going to be able to coordinate, we being the larger, all of the we's down here, whether or not all these efforts are, from your point of view, moving forward in the right direction, or whether or not they're going to conflict, because that's a little bit of the history here, right? Is we run into blocks because there's so many competing interests and ideas about this in different I know areas of regulation and different areas of responsibility. And so I'm always like watching for those types of conflicts, but this seems like very fast and in the right direction just from what you've said today. So.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, I don't know if this is like a completely accurate statistic, but I believe that the federal government has more climate and resiliency projects in Miami-Dade County than any other place in the country. And is spending a lot of money, on those activities. I think that the point you made about collaborating and making sure that the projects are talking to each other is really important. And that's something that we've been advocating for, Everglades Law Center has been advocating for in our work on these projects. On the plus side, there's a lot of the same actors in the different projects, especially the county. The county seems to be a really good through line between a lot of these. But I know that having spoken to the county, they are also pushing to make sure that all the projects are coordinating with each other. And I think that the Army Corps is taking a larger step than they previously have to make sure that that coordination is happening too. I think it could be improved, but I think they're working on it.
All right. Thank you for that context. I appreciate it.
I don't know if that totally answered your question, but okay, great. There's just, like you said, Kristen, there's just so much going on now. It's hard to be in the weeds on everything. And I think that makes the need for the project managers to be coordinating amongst themselves on the various projects even more important. And there's certainly an opportunity for us to, share our interests and our, what we would like to see from these projects as well. All right. So that's just last study updates. Okay, other updates. So two of these are for the second two are for the mayor. Just a heads up, Mayor, if you're still listening in.
Yes, I'm right here. What's going on?
Okay, great. I was going to share the project that the village applied for along with Miami Waterkeeper and local. And then I was hoping if you have this information handy while you're driving, would be able to provide an update on septic to sewer and the park updates after that. So,
yeah. Whatever I have, I got you.
Okay, great. So just starting quickly with local and Miami Waterkeeper. Miami Waterkeeper has been focusing on green infrastructure and under an EPA grant, working with a great resiliency program. And with local support, El Portal just applied for a grant to essentially turn Village Hall and the Tot Lot into a resiliency and climate hub. And I thought that was really exciting. And I just wanted to share with you guys some pictures of that. 1 second. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull those up, but maybe there's not, this is just, again, like an update, but Mayor, not to add something else on your list, but maybe you would be able to share those with the folks after the fact.
Yeah, I'll definitely make sure I go ahead and do that. I'll grab and do that.
Okay, it was just a grant that we applied for at this point, but I think it's really exciting, and I'm hoping that that's something that we can move forward with.
Well, let me just jump in real quick, Madam Chair, if I may. She's being humble, you guys. She brought this to us, and so what she hasn't said is for about a year, Chairperson Carpenter has been meeting with myself and the village manager and bringing us information and other ways to bring more resources to El Portal. And so she's a champion in this, and she's a hero, and I really appreciate her. There's a lot of things that, like, for example,
myself and Manager Lou, we're not experts at a lot of things when it comes to, water quality and sea level rise. And we just don't have the knowledge. So not only does she come and she's been meeting with us and bringing us the knowledge, but she's been showing us ways to improve things in El Portal that will lead to, in the future, bringing us more money and more resources for things like sea level rise, environmentalism, sustainability, and resiliency. So she'll look at our reports and she'll be like, hey, so you guys are failing to report this. You guys are failing to report that. Oh, and this right here, the way you guys reported this is incorrect. If you guys would change this up, so then like later on, if we would, apply for something or go after funding or whatever it is, when they look at all of our paperwork, we'll have it all like, intact the way it's supposed to be, so that we have a better chance on getting that funding in the future. So, she's not really saying it, but Chairperson Carpenter has really been like the quintessential individual to really moving our village forward in the areas of environmentalism, sustainability, resiliency, sea level rise, and water quality. And so this is another thing that she brought to us. So she brought this to us. It wasn't us that went after that came through. She hooked this up with Miami Waterkeeper, and she was like, hey, mayor, like, hey, village manager, like, here's a funding opportunity. And and she did the research before she even came to us. So like she gave me like the synopsis and gave me the research, and she did the research before she even came to us. And this is up to, so this grant will be doing wonderful things. We be making, there's so many different parts to it, but like, just a couple of things that stand out. We be making, the parking lots all around Village Hall, the parking lot in front of the Tot lot, the parking lot where like village manager and Manager Lou and like Clerk Jacoby, that whole parking lot where the police department is, that will all become like brand new permeable parking. We would be putting, and Madam Chair, you'd be able to explain it better than I can, on top of Village Hall, we'd be putting like a way you could catch water and release with like some greenery on top of there, and like making it, like I said, I'm not the expert, so I don't know the right terminology, but there's a lot of parts into it. And then there's also parts that we were trying to look at to implement just with like any park area spaces also. And this grant is up to $3 million. And so, so she's really been, in the forefront of bringing that to us. And so I think like as years go down the line, and, like I say, I'm not going to always be here forever, but as years go down the line, I think like this time period with the creation of, this task force, but also with her leadership and her bringing this stuff to us and educating us on these things that we didn't know anything about, that we'll be able to look back and be like, oh, these are the reasons why, these are the little details on why El Portal got caught up and even like, met expectations when it came to our resiliency and our sustainability in the village.
I appreciate you saying that, Mayor. I have to give like a huge caveat though. I was really just the intermediary on a ton of these things. Someone would come to me and I would connect them to you, and then you and the manager and the grant writer would run with it. And this was, Miami Waterkeeper and local, and I just served as a telephone between those things. But I appreciate that, Mayor, though. But it's really all the folks that are experts in all these things, and I'm just passing things back and forth between them.
If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't know anything about it. And like I said, she hasn't spoken on it, but she's been meeting with myself and village manager to fix everything that we're not doing correctly, just official paperwork and things that we're doing in reports and stuff like that for El Portal. And she's been doing that for over a year, you guys. She just never talks about it. So appreciate it.
So again, I think that was I got way too much credit in that. But do you want to talk about the septic to sewer stuff, Mayor?
Okay, so septic to sewer, it hasn't changed too much to where we were before. We still, I remember you guys, I showed you guys that email a while back where Mayor Livian Cava contacted me on a Sunday night, and that Monday sent me the email saying she was going to give those millions of dollars. We still have that. Just construction hasn't broken yet. One of the main things that's holding us back is the Miami-Dade County School Board system, just because we can't really move forward to do anything until, which they've already, given it to us, but until they give us it's the last paperwork for the station, the pumping station that goes in the back southwest area or southwest part of the Horace Mann Field. What ended up happening was that, which is what I'm concerned about when it comes to Mayor Levine Cava. I mean, I think she's going to win re-election, but even if she does, you know, which I think she's going to, because if you remember, we first kind of got the Sustainability and Task Force and Resiliency Task Force started. I told you guys that she included us into her whole, like they started on the east side, but going all west with the septic sewer, and it was supposed to be up to a 10-year period, and we were like the last part of her 10-year plan for the septic sewer conversion. But at the best case scenario, she's going to be there for 8 years, you know. So those last 2 years, if somebody else comes in different, what are they going to do with her plan? And so this is what basically happened with and it's not a done deal. It's not over or anything like that, but this is but it's slowed down because of this. This is what basically happened with the school board, because whoever the regional superintendent, you know, you have the big superintendent, Cavallo, but they have the regional superintendents. Whoever the regional superintendent was, when we did that deal with the Horace Mann and putting it in the back of the Horace Mann Field, he's been long gone. And the new person who's the new superintendent, Manager Alou, keeps saying, like, I can't even get this guy on the phone. I actually took Manager Alou maybe like 3 months ago. I took her, I said, well, you know, I said, let's take a ride. Then we went down to the school board building. He wasn't in his office. We waited there for about 3 hours, and he just didn't show up. And then when we kind of like pressed on our Vendros Mendigo, which is our school board representative, she was like, oh, she'll try to get in touch with him, but then she said that her and the regional supervisor, they don't really get along that good. And so that's the only thing holding us back from the construction part of that septic sewer project, getting it started on that west side.
Is there anything you think we could do as a task force, Mayor, to help support, you know, pushing that forward?
Yeah, I think a letter might do good, just to show, like, you know, community organization support. But at the same time, you know, I've made it my goal to continuously that kind of take over what the village manager was doing myself, which we always do. And I probably should have did this before. You know, Alberta House so small, myself and Manager Lou, we kind of split all the responsibilities. And so I've been meaning of taking over that project for myself from her, and just myself dealing with her. I think there might be, I don't know if they got into a miscommunication or a disagreement, but I think there might be tension between her and that regional supervisor. So I think I'm just going to take her out of the equation, just take over that project myself. So, and let me just, but I think a letter maybe from us or from you guys might be able to, you know, just even go forward with that. But let me see if I can, just without her, see if I can just get a little bit more inroads with that. Give me like 2 months.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mayor. And then anything else, any other avenues for grants for septic to sewer that have, I know you guys have tried for a lot of different ones. Any other ones that have panned out funding wise?
Nothing else has panned out that I've heard about lately. I mean, everything's just still out there. We have, I think, septic sewer, I was going over it in my report before the holidays. I think we have like 7 different asks out between the federal government, the state government, and just private grants. We have like 7 asks out right now for multiple septic sewer areas throughout Alberta.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Usually grants come in usually toward the end of usually kind of find out about all type of funding toward the end of the year, probably like around May. Like April,
around
May.
May?
April,
Okay.
May is when a lot of that stuff comes out before like the federal government and Congress and them go on like their summer vacations, you know? So kind of think about when like college kind of comes to an end, more or less, and people start to get ready for that summer stuff. So probably around like May, April, May, we'll start to learn. Summer start to roll in, and we'll start to see what we have, what we don't have.
Gotcha. All right, great. That's a lot of funding requests. Hopefully some of them work out.
Keep trying, Madam Chair, we keep trying, you know. Elper Child. I swear, I've told you guys this before. It's funny. I was talking about this last night when I was at a meeting, and I was saying like I was with actually in Miami Shores. I was with the people from Miami Shores. I just joined the Friendly Villagers, the Miami Shores Friendly Villagers organization, and so my first meeting was yesterday, was last night, and the keynote speaker was one of the mayor of Los Angeles was the keynote speaker. And right before he spoke, the manager of Miami Shores spoke, and I was just like, and Manager Miami Shores was just talking about all this stuff that that they're trying to do, and just problems that they have. And I was like, how are you guys having these issues with like your budget? And then of course the mayor of LA, when the mayor of LA spoke, and I was just like, man, I was like, only if I could dream, Madam Chair, only if I could dream, Madam Vice Chair, Consultant Gladwin, Consultant what I'm saying, member Fruitsong, member Webb. I was like, only if I could dream, because even Miami Shores, I mean, their budget is like $46 million. Like our budget's $2 million, and over half of that is police department. And so we're operating for us to pay everybody and do everything, and all of our employees, we're working with under $1 million. Miami Shores is like, oh yeah, our budget was $46 million. Our contingency, your contingency is like your pocket money, to where, I want to just throw an event. Oh, let's go to contingency and just pull it out. Miami Shores contingency is like, I think he said $7 million. So it's just a struggle we go a dream, but all we can do is just continue to work hard and do what we can.
Got to get that Cavista CO'd.
Hey, I'm telling you. So I did the for the Riverfront restaurant that's going to be coming in. I did the development agreement right before the holidays. So I'm going to be meeting. So me and Christia, we did it together. We stayed up. I actually went over her house one night, and we stayed up. Stayed up till like 4 a.m. doing a development agreement, just so we can get like another $1 million or something like that comes in once it's done. So we have development agreement. We just got to meet with them, but our side's done already. So doing everything we can. Hey, but I appreciate you all. You guys keep my battery charged, because you guys are always like gung ho, and so you guys keep me energized. And I'm like, oh, it gets hard sometimes, but we got to keep pushing through. It's all good.
Thanks, Mayor. Just moving on, anything else on that before we move on to parks? No? Okay. Any update on I know that the manager had been pushing, moving forward with a parks update plan, and I think we had provided some comments. I just was wondering, where that ended up landing.
For the parks, remind me. So, all right. So when we met about parks, there was a thing to where it was getting done, but then there was a council member who ended up losing the money.
I think you cut out, Mayor.
When he ended up losing the money, did I tell you guys about that part? Okay, did I tell you guys about the council person that ended up losing the money? Did I tell you guys about that?
So.
Or no? Okay, so we have more since that happened. We applied for 2 more parks grants, but also there's that money from the development agreement for that new property that will be going up. Worst case scenario, even if you don't get the parks grants, there's that. But you might be referring to, because we were meeting before, we had our long hiatus. We were meeting about implementing more sustainability aspects into the parks. Is that what you're referring to, Madam Chair?
Yes, and just the general point you're saying about, when the parks were, I thought the parks were all getting renovated, and that was what we were incorporating the sustainability stuff into.
Yeah, we went to a meeting. There was a big, that was the $1 million from Vista was going to be used for park renovation, and the county all that stuff was going on. Did that happen, or what happened?
So what meeting are you referring to, Hugh? Are you referring to the meeting with Vice Mayor Perella?
Yeah,
on Saturday.
This was like what, a year ago, maybe, almost. I don't know. It was with him, but it was with a team from the engineering company, and
Okay.
they had, you know, so there was very detailed plans. I think I was at the
Okay.
meeting, so I shared some with you. You know, it was sort of paralleling some of the stuff that Colin had been talking about for the
Yeah.
parks,
Okay.
but it was a very detailed plan. And
Okay. So this is what happened. So the funding from that, they were trying to pull from the Cavista funding because they had lost. The funding for that was not originally for the Cavista from the Cavista funding. The funding was a green space grant that I got. That was $1 million. That's what it was for. And remember, I came on here and I was telling you guys that we were going to do the parks renovation. Two council members went to Manager Lou and said the mayor wants to do everything for himself and he's not leaving any work for anybody else to do. Christia came to me and she said, Mayor, why don't you just give them this? I said, well, Christia, I already got the money. She said, I understand, but just give it to them. I said, okay. I said, it's a grant. If they don't do anything with it within a certain amount of time, we're going to lose the money. She said, I understand, Mayor, just let them do it because they're complaining. I said, okay, fine. I said, I'll step away from it. And I stepped away from it and nothing was done. They had that meeting. That meeting was toward the end where that grant was almost running out. That's why they started to talk about, oh, we should probably use Cavista funding for that. But that money now has disappeared. So now what they're going to have to use for that is because the Cavista funding that's there is not enough to cover the parks renovation. So they would have to wait for the new Cavista project to go up, the Riverfront Restaurant and Lofts project to go up to finish off the parks renovation. Plus, since that meeting, the prices of the parks renovation has changed because since the two council members that want to take it over squabbling so much, the individuals, the contractors that were doing the jobs, they ended up dropping out. New contractors came in with different prices.
I mean, could I say something?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, one problem I had was, I mean, there are a lot of issues. One good thing of it was the county archaeologist is finally involved. So, you know, now we're like working with the county archaeologist, I think, in, you know, in the areas where we're involved. But, you know, the thing that really bothered me was, you know, the task force. I mean, you've been dealing with some really pressing problems, and one of the most pressing is the flooding in the Triangle Park area of Sherwood Forest, where, you know, where we have that park there. And there was all this money to renovate the park, but we desperately need to have, you know, to have storm drains, French drains or something put in to take care of that flooding. I mean, we pretty much know where the flooding's coming from. You know, it should be done, hi Colin, it should be done, you know, together. I mean, it's crazy to do them separately. You know, so I think now if that money's gone and that's not happening, I think it's time to approach those areas that have flooding issues. And that's the main one, but there are other ones too, you know, in a coherent collective way where the parks get renovated, but also flooding gets, I mean, what's the point of renovating the Triangle Park and then having to dig a big piece of it up to take care of the flooding problem there? You know, that flooding problem is not going to be difficult to take care of. I mean, we know where the water's going. So that's something I think the task force really needs to get on top of, in my opinion. But
so yeah, that's a good point, Hugh. Chairperson Carpenter could tell you, so in her meetings with myself and the village manager, we're already putting a storm drain on the north side of that park.
okay.
And
That is
Mayor,
It's part of
separate
the, it's the
project.
first part of phase 2, Madam Chair.
yeah, I was going to say that was one of
What did
the
you, excuse me, go
federal.
ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that was one of the federal grants that you all applied for a couple months ago as well, right? To move forward with phase 2 of our stormwater master
Yeah.
plan, which
Absolutely.
focuses
And the
on
first
at
part,
least partially.
And the first part of phase 2 of the stormwater master plan, the first one that's going in is that one that's on the north side of that part.
And have
And
you done
have
the
we heard?
scientific, have you done the study of the aquifer flow? And I mean, has the science been done on that? And the county archaeologist? I mean, it's, you know, you don't just put a storm drain there when you have these. I mean, I think a lot of people who've lived in Sherwood Forest for a long time know. I mean, you can hear the water go underground from, you know, where it's going. You can't just stick a storm drain in at some random spot.
Yeah, so I'm
I
not
don't know,
sure. I'm not
maybe, and
sure.
I'm sure it's all
Yeah.
being worked on, but you know, it worries me a little bit if
I can ask the engineers because remember, you guys, remember we all have like different roles here, right? So, you know, I'm here to get the funding and to move things through. You know what I'm saying? So the details of what's been studied or not, I don't know. That's all. I'm not sure about it, but I can check on it for you.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, I see Mr. Brown has his hand up.
Yeah, I just
Hey,
wanted
Hey,
to.
Colin.
Oh, I just wanted to say hi first to everybody, and a lot
good
of
to
faces
see
I
you.
haven't. Yeah, good to see you too, Hugh. I want to run next door and give you a hug when this is over. I haven't seen you
Yeah.
in such a long time.
Yep.
Well, in effort to just keep everything moving, I just wanted to mention there's one key word, Mayor, that I think that it should be taken away from anything in relation to park renovation is water detention. You know, not retention, but detention. And that means a temporary storage for water. It's a low-lying area. And this is a common thing used in areas that have flood issues is how do you pool water to lower areas and create native plant communities. So with that being said, we can talk more about that at a later date if you'd like, but I don't want to spend too much time talking about that.
It certainly applies to the nature trail area for sure.
Thanks, Colin. The Mayor, the grant for that phase of the stormwater management plan that does touch on Sherwood Forest Park, have you guys heard anything back on whether we move to the next phase of that, or we're going to get that funding or not? I know it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't. It looks like we're going to get that funding. I've been speaking. I usually have my Friday meetings with everybody that I'm doing funding requests from or grant requests from, and they were like, "Yeah, you guys are looking pretty good, Mayor, for that for that phase 2." Yeah.
Okay.
So that should be good.
That's great. So if we get that funding, is that the opportunity to address some of the nuances that Colin was talking about with the park and he was mentioning with the groundwater flow?
Okay, so remember this, yes and no. So, and this is another thing that Chairperson Carpenter, you guys have has brought to us, and we're starting to put into place. So when we go for funding requests, all funding requests are for a certain thing. It's not like they're not open funding requests, right? Like, I mean, it's rare if ever you'll find a funding request that's, you know what, guys, we're giving you, $2 million, and then you decide what to do with it. Every funding request you go for it's like, hey, we're doing exactly this for it, or is for this, or is this for this plan? And so whichever the Carpenter, kind of educated myself and the village manager about is for our not only stormwater master plan, for our wastewater master plan, she was kind of like, what about like the sustainability, resiliency, and the green aspects of these plans? And so what we are going to be doing now, and we have our engineers that are going to be doing it, and they're actually going to be doing it teamed up with an engineer company that specializes in the wastewater and stormwater master plans through like more environmental and green spaces. And I can get their name for you, who they're partnering up with, but and even the engineer they're partnering up with. But what we're doing for every stormwater master plan and wastewater master plan, and even the ones we break down into areas, we're doing a mirror one that is going to be a sustainability, a resiliency, and more for green stormwater master plan and wastewater master plan for overall and for all those areas. And so, Madam Chair, so when you say for the current one that we went out for funding with, that's for the current master plan that we had in place, right? And so they're giving us the funding based on that master plan. So some of the stuff that we might want to implement, it might not be able to be implemented through this particular funding off of that master plan, which is why after speaking to you, we're starting another master plan that we're using also. So now when these other ones are done, we'll go out for both. So we'll be able to go after funding for traditional stormwater, wastewater master plan money, and for more sustainability, resiliency, green style stormwater, wastewater master plan money. So that way we'll be able to hit on every aspect and be able to get funding in much quicker.
That sounds great. And are we able to combine those funding so that we're not, ripping up the street or the park twice, so that the two different sources of funding work together for one
so it depends,
larger gray-green plan?
Exactly. So we'll be doing 3 different things once the other 2 are done. We'll be going after still on its own traditional. We'll be going after on its own sustainability, resiliency, green space, stormwater, and wastewater master plan. And we'll be going after those stormwater, wastewater master plan funding or grant opportunities where we can't implement both at the same time. And I know what you guys probably thinking, like, if we're going to have the new one, why would we still be going after the traditional ones? Because if we don't get the money for the sustainability, resiliency, green space master plan, but we lose out on money for septic sewer conversion, on traditional septic sewer conversion, I don't want to miss out on that because our residents are still going to be struggling. And we can't say, hey, for septic sewer conversion, we're just not going to do what our original plan was because we have a new master plan, and then our residents more and more, because they are all on septic tanks, or flooded out for 5 years extra than they had to be because we just decided not to go after traditional funding opportunities anymore. Because we have to remember, you guys, and I know this is more of a political thing, but you have to remember that even though, which I want, the world and society move more in that direction, you still have a lot of dinosaurs in the political aspects, especially at the federal level. You have a lot of dinosaurs at the state level. You have a lot of dinosaurs, at the local level, and even like with these grants. And so they might not understand or might not be in tune to the importance of the funding of what you guys are discussing, right? So you have the new aspect of people that really understand it, but you have the dinosaurs that are still giving away hundreds of millions of dollars for traditional projects. So I'm trying to hit it from every aspect because I'm just trying to relieve, the problems that my residents have as quickly as possible. So that's why I try to hit from every aspect possible.
But if we got, that makes sense, Mayor. Thank you for clarifying that. If we got a source of funding that would allow us to incorporate green infrastructure, we could combine that with the gray
100%, 100%, which is
Okay.
why we're doing we're redoing the stormwater master plan and wastewater master plan right now as quickly as possible. So it should be done probably by the summertime, both master plans.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're really trying to get on it. Like we went and hired a whole we had our consultants and our engineering consultants, which are engineering group, Craig A. Smith and Associates. You guys, Orlando Rubio, who's been on here, Madam Chair, who you were in those meetings with. They have a environmental aspect of their engineering company, but then they have an outside company that they use that specializes in just environmental and sustainable wastewater and stormwater projects. So
great. Is there that's awesome, and that sounds like so quick as far as those things go. Is there an opportunity for the task force to comment and provide input before that's finalized?
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to have you guys be able to, implement or be able to comment before it's implemented. I mean, I'm going to make that happen. I don't know how much, we can't force them to do what we say, but we can tell them and show them the importance. And hopefully when we do those meetings that, they kind of already know what we want and they're already implementing it, because they're supposedly, like, the ones we're using, they do specialize in that, and they've been doing that for a while, supposedly. So.
Okay. Does it,
Absolutely.
that sounds great. Does it make sense then, like you said, if they're finalizing it based on their own proposal, if we met with them like nowish to talk about like points that you made and that Colin made?
Yeah, so I met with Orlando.
Yeah,
for sure. I met with Orlando Rubio last Wednesday, and they're about to get ready to get it started. And so at the next meeting on the 17th, we can pull him in with the village manager, and kind of get that conversation started.
Okay, great.
So that would be good.
Thanks, Mayor. Hugh, Colin, you guys have any follow-up questions, comments? Matt?
They look upset with me, Madam Chair. I know it's hard, you guys, but you guys have to understand. For me, it's a hard. Look, when you're dealing with politicians, it's not as cut and dry as just, we want this, give me this, or I don't want nothing unless it's this. They're gonna be like, all right, well, and I'm El Portal. If I was Hialeah, if I was Miami Beach, if I was somebody, you know what I'm saying? If I was Miami Gardens, if they were like, oh, you have 500,000 residents, oh, this would be a big story. If I was city of Miami, it's different. You know what I'm saying? So being El Portal, I'm not saying being El Portal, I give up. Like I always say, Manager Lou and myself, we go far beyond what our height suggests, right? We're you know what I'm saying? Like we're bigger than our body is, you know what I mean? We go far beyond. But at the same time, I'm just trying to get what we can as quickly as possible, and at least get something that we can build off of from there. And so I want to go after everything and don't want to turn down anything, because everything helps, especially when you're the smallest municipality in Miami-Dade County and nobody gives you respect. So I know you, I know Colin, I know Adam, I know. I'm trying to get as many things implemented that y'all want as possible. Trust me, I am.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor, and I just want to say that I'm just looking for a way, and I've been looking for a way to get involved in a positive manner and an influential manner in these issues since I moved to El Portal, and just looking forward to that opportunity when it happens.
For sure, absolutely, guys, absolutely. Y'all know I love y'all, man. Y'all know I love y'all.
I would just love to share, just totally frankly, Colin's stormwater plan for El Portal and the Sherwood Forest Park with these folks to see if they can just put that in the master plan.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Like I said, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say it's for the landscape architecture firms that I worked for, which this was before I went out on my own. They were higher power firms, and we're very expensive to hire on these larger projects. And we specifically kept engineering firms off of our projects until they were designed, because a lot of engineering firms, they size pipe. They want to run the water off the site as fast as they can. And the way a landscape architect would study it is they bring on specialists, biologists, horticulturists to figure out how do we use the water on site to build native plant communities to enhance biodiversity on the site. And so it's really two different professions, and it's the overlooking the sequence in how those professions overlap and collaborate is really important here. And I'm just afraid that we might be getting a civil engineering firm on site to size pipe to move water into a flooded corridor.
Let me ask you guys this. Is your concern more, because what I'm hearing, is your concern more of the stormwater master plan than the wastewater? Because the wastewater is the one that I really want to get done quickly, because septic sewer is just an aspect I just don't want to deal with anymore as far as that goes. Because if that's the case, or are you also talking about the wastewater master plan and saying that with landscape architectures, they don't do that also? You're just talking about stormwater, Colin.
Just stormwater. Septic has to go to a different treatment facility. That's a whole different program and a whole different study. But anything, the key word is sheet flow. Anything that's a sheet flow that's going to run down a road and into somebody's yard or ultimately into Little River. We should be studying where that water's running and where that water could be, another keyword, detained, so that it can sit in a landscape rather than running into the river and flooding and adding to the flood issue. Those are the studies that should be conducted. First, they should be conducted already before anybody is looking at any elements of the design.
I wholeheartily agree with Colin. I think that the only way that we're going to be able to be resilient into the future is to use there are ways to address these things outside of the traditional gray infrastructure way, and the gray infrastructure way of just laying pipes is not going to work in the future. And so incorporating elements of gray infrastructure with the green infrastructure and the sheet flow and the detention and water quality issues that Colin is saying I think is the only way we can do it moving forward to be successful.
And this is
go ahead.
I just wanted to say this is in no way cutting out the civil engineer or an engineering process with design. It's necessary that a lot of these engineers get involved and that there are overflow pipes that lead out of some of these areas so that some of these park areas don't become completely inundated. So there are subsequent studies that need to be conducted by civil engineers, but it should happen after some of these studies that we're mentioning occurred. Sorry, Hugh.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that in addition to sheet flow areas, there are also areas, I mean, these are things we discussed when, the task force was doing the big project last year on what is it, environmental charrette or whatever, but there are also some major areas where the elevation is so low, that the water collects there because it's part of the I mean, you can't really even pump it out because it flows back again. And I think that area by the nature trail, that's incredibly low. But the biggest area, of course, is in the former trailer park area. There's an enormous area there that's incredibly low. That is sort of a natural lake because a huge amount of fill was taken. Material was taken out of there in the 1890s to build the railroad, to build up the railroad track. So that's a very related problem. That water stays there, but you want some of it to stay there. I mean, it is a natural thing too. So that fits into the same framework. I mean, it's the same deal. It's just like another complexity, but it absolutely has to be dealt with the way you talk about, Colin, not bringing in an engineer to figure out pipes because they're not even going to do anything. So for the agenda.
Mayor, no, thanks. Mayor, it sounds like just going back to my earlier question that you assured us that we get some funding for gray infrastructure like pipes, and we get funding for green infrastructure, and we can combine those. So it seems like we're all on the same page.
For sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. When it comes to, I'm hearing a lot about stormwater. When it comes to wastewater, do you all have like ideas about green implementation on that also?
My perspective is septic to sewer as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So do you want me to even bring them on to talk about wastewater? Or you want me to just bring them on and talk about stormwater?
I'm not sure what they would be. I'm not. I guess I'm not familiar enough with what. I know that there's various forms of septic tanks that are much better for water quality. But in terms of converting from a septic tank to sewer, I wasn't aware that there were opportunities for green conversions. I don't know what those are. I know that there's a lot better septic tanks that we haven't been implementing if you're stuck on septic, but we don't have that problem if we're just converting to sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I said,
You're running out of time, guys.
And
What
hey,
was that,
Mayor,
Adam?
Mayor, I just want to clarify just a couple things. So the wastewater is there's a limited opportunity to treat that water from a design standpoint with green infrastructure in public areas. That's a separate issue. That's not what we're looking to get necessarily involved in. And the second point is we're not looking to per se cut out the civil engineering studies or engineering studies that need to be conducted with stormwater. We're just saying that there needs to be preliminary studies that inform any sort of stormwater infrastructure that goes in.
Yeah, no, for sure. I understand. I'm just trying to, I want to just like pinpoint, exactly. Cause I didn't want to bring you guys on and say, all right, you guys, first we're going to talk about wastewater. And then, what I'm saying, they prepare to talk about wastewater first. So I'll just tell them like, just to prepare, and we're going to like go right in and focus strictly on stormwater. So what we'll do, Madam Chair, if I may. So what we'll do so far, what we'll do is we can talk about the Professor Troxler's event first, maybe, or last, or we could just go right into stormwater. So those are two things that we can have for the next meeting. The stormwater
Mayor,
master plan.
Let me know which works better between to have them on, so that I'll let Tiffany know to come, early or late, so she doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's interested.
You could probably do Professor Troxler first, because I don't know if that would be a long conversation. Because the other one's going to probably be a much longer, deeper conversation.
Okay, great. And I think, thanks, Mayor. I think that's great for us to be able to share, these concerns and vision with them right up front, so that down the road, that once they've done all the work, we don't have to try to change it.
Sure, because I don't know exactly. And then this is why, I love you guys, because, when I went to school and got my degrees, this wasn't my expertise. So I wouldn't know. And so I really appreciate you all. Just like I say, with the chairperson Carpenter, coming and having all those meetings with myself and the village manager, there's a lot of things I was like, oh, I had no idea. And so I just wouldn't know. And that's why I really appreciate you all, because even the stuff that you guys are saying, I wouldn't even know how to ask the engineer, like, did you guys do this already? You see, so when I bring him on and we guys mention this, they'll be like, oh, well, we did this or this, that, or we did the equivalent or whatever. Like, I have no idea,
And it is pretty rare for a civil engineering firm to want a landscape architect to lead some of these studies. Typically, they it's an easier process for them to keep somebody out of those preliminary studies. So just something to keep in mind.
I got you. Well, I'm not gonna let them keep you.
Much love. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We're gonna knock the door down, y'all. They can't keep us out. They can't keep us out.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. That was a great conversation. So moving on to, I think we're wrapped up on that, unless anyone has any objections. Adam, I know you said something at one point. Was there something you wanted to add?
No, I think I said something about composting toilets.
Okay, gotcha.
That's wastewater.
All right. Great. So I know it's 5:30, so we'll try to be quick with these next couple things. H6, Mayor, I think this is your topic too, county-related mitigation grant funding / LMS.
Yeah, that's was consultant Gladwin there. That's review.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hugh, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, this is something that maybe can't wait till the next meeting, which is right now the funding for Hurricane Ian and Nicole also last year, that funding is coming down through the system. And the initial damages here in Miami-Dade County weren't great, but as that money doesn't get spent by other counties, it comes down to here, and then it goes through the local mitigation strategy. And for some reason, I'm not seeing we had one big project. I don't know if Colin will approve of this, but it's for a pump, for the $10 million pump on the El Pertel side, to be able to pump down water in advance of, in the very low-lying area next to the river that corresponds to the pump the county has on the other side in the, in that same low-lying area in the other side on the west side. That seems to have disappeared from our LMS project list. I'm not quite sure what the situation is. Do you know about that, Mayor? Has there been?
No, so as soon as you sent me the email, I forwarded it over to Christia and or the manager, and I said, hey, I was like, because I'm not involved in the LMS list or what goes on. Like I'm just not involved in it. So I said, hey, I was like, are our projects still on the LMS list? I was like what's going on? I said, look at Mr. Gladwin's email below. And so I haven't heard from her yet. I know that she had went out of town for the holidays, but she's back, or she should be back tomorrow or something like that. But yeah, so I have no idea, Hugh. I have no clue what's going on.
Well, it's the problem is I'm on those. I don't want to go into any explanation. I think you know how the LMS works, but I'm on the steering committee. The way it's been working this fall with this money, and it's going to work, is the money comes down really fast, and I think the state is hoping that a lot of the money won't come down to us. And on the steering committee, I can't advocate for El Pertel. We just have to operate the legal machinery to get these projects signed off. And then, very often we have like 2 days to go through and make all these decisions. But obviously, it's been a little upsetting to me to see Miami Shores, to see other areas get a lot of money, and suddenly El Pertel's not there, So I think it's really important to see what the issue is, so those problems will get back in the to get back in the list as soon as possible. Like immediately, because I'm sure in the next few weeks, more of them are going to come through.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Consultant Gladwin, is this the first time we haven't been on the LMS list? Is this the first time that you've seen, or is
I don't know what's happening. It's just part of it's my thing. I've been very pressed for a lot of reasons, so I haven't gone through the LMS list, but it maybe just haven't been at meetings, or I don't know what the deal is.
Is the LMS list something that do you have to resubmit every year? Is it a holdover? If I resubmitted something, 3 years ago, is it automatically on the list next year, or
no? You get you get the village has gotten, probably, I get copied on all the emails from the LMS to all the municipalities and everybody, so from Robin, the coordinator, there's probably every other week or so an email goes to El Pertel letting the village know, that the things have to be updated, or this has to be in, or whatever, and I'm just worried that maybe the manager is so overwhelmed with stuff that needs to be done that she hasn't responded, or, maybe I could I mean, we could make a much stronger case on the LMS things. I mean, that's a subject, but I think there should be a meeting maybe on that. I could meet with, it would be the engineers that would, do that. I don't know. I mean, I didn't check in the last quarterly meetings to see if the village even attended them. I presume the village did. It's just like, I hate to see that $10 million pump go away. I mean, how we'll get it put in or whatever, but we're not going to get funding for something like that again. So I don't know, maybe should I just get in touch with you, Mayor, and we can figure out that? Or
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think that no, you can email me after this meeting, or I'll email you, because I think that's something we need to get on top of. Do you know, just by being on the committee, like, do you have an idea? So, for example, of Miami Shores, if they submitted something or something on this last year, do you guys say like, oh,
there's been a project
did
list.
resubmit, or
Yeah, there's been a project list, and I'll send you a copy. I mean, I'll send you a copy, and if you want, you can forward the last list I have. I don't have access the passwords to get on to the LMS site where you keep the projects updated. But it's the responsibility of each municipality and entity to keep reviewing that online system and make sure the projects are updated. It's just like suddenly, I looked at the list and the projects are all ranked by priorities, and El Portal's been slowly moving up along with Miami Shores and all these other places. And then suddenly, boom, it's not there anymore. And I don't know.
It sounds like this is something we might need the manager's input on, right? Seems like we don't know what happened. We need the manager.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not something that I guess I think the task force really needs to look into the LMS thing, because we're going to have more hurricanes and things like that coming. And as long as 15% of the amount of damages is going to mitigation, that's going to be a major source of potential funding. And I mentioned Hialeah before because we should have a very high priority, because if you look at the drainage basin for the C7, most of it is the city of Hialeah. It's almost completely contained in the drainage basin. So anything that allows water to go through the C7 faster and take rain floodwater out of Hialeah, our project doesn't just benefit people in El Portal. That project benefits everybody that lives in Hialeah, and El Portal should be able to list that in the priority scoring as part of the benefits. But right now, I'm just concerned about the projects. I think there's only 2 left in there that we do have that need to be put back in. So I will send you an email, Mayor, and but if I can get a hold of the project list, perhaps you could forward it to the task force members.
No, I appreciate that, and it's very important. And what you were saying about Hialeah, once I learned what's going on, I could definitely, do that, because every other week on Monday, as part of my whole connecting the county thing that I did at the exposition, which is why I had so many different people speak, and people didn't really know why, because I'm really connecting. So every Monday I have lunch with the mayor of Hialeah, the mayor of Sweetwater, and the mayor of Doral. Every other Monday we meet, and we have lunch for about 3 hours before us. And so anything I can do with myself and Hialeah, Doral, so
I think we're losing you, Mayor. You're breaking up.
Oh, okay. You guys see now?
No, No, unless it's just me, I can't hear the mayor.
No, me too.
Okay.
Likewise.
All right. Well, we'll put it. It seems like we need to get an update from the manager on that. So I think we can put a pin in that until we hear from the manager for a following meeting. Is that okay, Hugh? Was that everything on that? Okay, great. So quickly, last two items, and then one small piece of new business. Sustainability and task force vacancy. Does anyone have any suggestions for another person to join the task force?
I do not at the moment.
Okay, I also do not, but just putting that back at the forefront of our minds to brainstorm if we have any suggestions in the future.
Because I'm not in the village, I don't know if there have been new residents who have moved in, or if anybody has any. Mayor, I don't know if you have any suggestions of if there are any possible candidates of folks who've come in along the river at all?
There are a few. I can reach out to them, but maybe this is something also that we could mention at the event on the 20th.
Great, that's a great point.
Like, hey, we have an opening, and because remember, it's 5 voting members, but you can still have, like, we can say, hey, we have an opening. So if 3 people join, you guys have 1 voting member and just 2 members that are joining, right? So
that's a great point. Yeah. Okay.
Does anybody know Eddie O?
Not
Lives
sure.
on 87th.
I know faces, but I might not know a lot of names. Maybe last names. I know a lot of residents by last name. So.
Hugh, there's that new lad up north of you who's into the coffee, the coffee plants. I wonder if he'd be interested.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. I can ask him about it. Yeah.
You can ask both those guys.
He's very busy right now, but he's tremendously interested, and he's been to village council meetings, I know, because there's this horrendous noise problem that's been going on without end in the Sherwood Forest area from the illegal concerts, basically, that are coming out of the Skatebird property. So
I'm going to ask both those guys if they would be interested in joining. So
awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Colin. Thanks you.
Yep.
Well, real quick, I know you have to go, you guys, but so just for sake of clarity, the Skatebird had to pay $46,000 recently because of noise violations. So 46, and it was actually 62, and we lowered it to 46. As like a settlement. So, but
they're not supposed to even have those kind of events.
All right. Well, there's all right. So there's we can talk about that offline. There's ambiguity to that, because he does have, like, certain event uses, but he doesn't have a special event use for those type of things. But at a skate park in an open area like that, he can play music, but is it live music? And if it is live music, how loud, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of, like, things with that or whatever, just because of the type of space it is. It's like an event space. So what type of event? So there's a lot of ambiguity with that. Anyway,
and I know there was some talk that they would cover it. I mean, that they were going to, like, put a roof or something to block the sound. So they weren't like open air rock concerts.
So part of the settlement of the money he had to pay, he has to do a noise mitigation plan, and he has to do now a sound curtain. So that's what's going on with that. When I was cutting out earlier, Madam Chair, real quick, when I was cutting out earlier, I was saying that anything with Hialeah, Sweetwater, Doral, let me know. As part of that connecting the county initiative that I did for the state, for the informational exposition, Madam Chair, that you and Hugh was at, and Member Fruitstone. I said a lot of people didn't really understand what I was doing, but I was really, like, doing that to connect the county. So every other Monday, I have lunch with Mayor Bovo, Mayor Pepe Diaz, and Mayor Fraga from Doral, Hialeah, and Sweetwater every other Monday. And we have lunch for about an hour, 15 minutes, an hour, 30 minutes every other Monday. So anything you guys need from Hialeah, Sweetwater, or Doral, let me know. because we do have those mayor, I do have that mayor lunch that I have with them every other Monday. So, and we haven't missed, we've done like 5 Mondays. So we haven't missed every other Monday. It's not one of those things that starts up and then never continues. So I'm holding everybody's feet to the fire for all my initiatives.
That's great, Mayor. And maybe we can address this at, a subsequent task force meeting, but I think we'd love to talk to them about their contributions to stormwater and water quality issues in the Little River from the west end of the river as well.
For sure.
Awesome. Okay. 2 quick more things. A sustainability and resiliency task force meeting. The mayor has kindly proposed January 17th at 4 o'clock. Does that work for folks? Yes, that works for me. Mayor Bell and Matthew. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Awesome. Okay, great. And then we'll talk to Tiffany about the Saturday, 3 days after that project, and as well as the stormwater master planner folks, if the mayor can coordinate with them. And then updated. Okay, so I think we put a pin in reviewing and updating of notes and open items, because the last thing that this is going to really just take 2 seconds that I wanted to talk to you guys about is just the rest of our year. Going back to the originating resolution that created our task force, there are duties and functions in this, and I think it lays out 13 of them. So I just wanted to flag this to see, whether it's the next meeting or the following one, if the members can take a look at that and we can see what we want to prioritize, for the coming years for the resolution, and outline a little bit of a plan as we move forward.
Sounds good. It'd be good for us to revisit that anyway, since it's been a couple years. I have not really looked at it since it was approved. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had the same thought and situation. So good time. New year, new task force missions.
Sounds good, you guys. For resolutions and things like that, even though they're in place, resolutions can have addendums. So if there's anything you want to add, we can do that. The only thing I would caution with this council is to open up the whole resolution, because then the council might just decide to make a lot of changes you guys might not be in favor with. So
duly noted.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. There's a lot of good stuff in that resolution that is pretty broad. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in the existing resolution too, I think, without making
sure.
addendums.
Sounds good, you guys.
All right. Any other new business from any task force members?
I just have an update that I want to make sure goes on the record, which is that Christopher Boykin, current executive director of Pelican Harbor, is leaving the organization to become I don't remember what his role is, but with Waterkeeper.
Development.
So, which I think is fantastic for us in both directions. And Chloe Chels, who's the current assistant director, is going to become the acting director. And hopefully the permanent director, because she's fantastic, and she's been managing their capital campaign and is really been primarily responsible for just the nuts and bolts of their development of the property. So I just wanted that on the public record here, so everyone knows that one of our major partners is got a change going on at the top, but a change that I think is a win-win for us. So.
That's really cool. And if you guys ever look at our emails that we send out, that I send out, Chloe Chels is always CC, along with Mr. Brown's wife. They're always CC'd. So for sure. So that's cool that Chloe would be moving up in that position, because she's already part of the family.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's great.
Awesome. All right. Any other new business from task force members? All right. Any good and welfare from our other great folks on the call? No. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second.
Thank you.
All right. We are officially adjourned at 5:39 p.m.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Wonderful
Take care,
to
everybody.
get
Thank
to
you
See
very
you
much.
all.
See you guys
We'll
in a
be
couple
in
weeks.
touch.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle and Brooke. Appreciate you, Kyle and Brooke. Y'all take care. Bye-bye, Mr. Brown.
Bye, Mayor.
All right, my brother. Love you. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, much love.
All right. Take care. Peace.
Yeah, bye-bye.